The ideas of socialism, that the means of production, distribution, and labor should be owned, controlled, and regulated by the community as a whole, are the worst sort of collectivist ideas which exist. The very implication that the group knows what is good for the individual, that we exist to do things for the greater good, is totally antithetical to the purpose of being human. It's your job to find value in your work, to strive for more than you have, to bring good to yourself and the people around you, and to live as a free person as you see fit. The very idea that you should set aside your individuality for the community as a whole, which virtually always turns into an intolerant, hostile mob, is exactly why so many have died in socialist regimes.
Socialism rests on compulsion. Its defining ethic is not equality, but coercion.
Capitalism is good because capitalism is freedom. Socialism is bad because socialism is tyranny. Not as an aspect of tyranny, socialism itself is tyranny. The statement of socialism is that your labor is owed to the society. The notion of socialism is that you do not own your own freedom. You do not own your own time. You do not own your own labor. You do not own your own work. You do not own the products of your own work. The basic notion of capitalism is you own all of those things, and now you have to engage in free exchange with someone else who does not owe you anything. If you want to thrive, if you want to succeed, you are going to have to make something somebody else wants. People think capitalism is selfishness. No, socialism is selfishness.
Socialism enables, and as a result produces, people whose preoccupations become more and more self-centered. How many benefits will I receive from the government? Will the government pay for my education? Will the government pay for my health care? What is the youngest age at which I can retire? How much paid vacation time can I get? How many days can I call in sick and still get paid? How many weeks of paid paternity or maternity leave am I entitled to? The list gets longer with every election of a liberal or progressive or left-wing party. And then each entitlement becomes a right.
Before the 1960s, Sweden was one of the freest economies in the world. It had a thriving capitalist industrial base. It created massive amounts of wealth. It had a relatively free economy, low taxes, low regulations, and it boomed, and the amount of wealth created was astronomical, and Sweden became a real industrial powerhouse. As a consequence, a huge amount of wealth was created, which starting in the 1960s, because of socialist policies, Sweden started to redistribute. But it started at a very high point, and it redistributed all the wealth that was created and continued somewhat to be created under socialism, but economic growth slowed significantly. The redistribution cost Sweden a lot. Wealth creation halted, and what they were redistributing was wealth that had already been created in the past. By the mid-1990s, Sweden was in grave economic problems because it couldn't continue redistributing wealth that it wasn't creating.
It's not just that socialism doesn't work in the sense that it fails to provide material advance. It doesn't work in that it takes away human dignity.
Fortunately, I see a rising tide in America based on liberty, freedom, and individual choice. Note how those words themselves are somehow thought of as evil in the socialist lexicon. Liberty, freedom, and individual choice must all be sacrificed for the greater good, though what they're not telling you is that the greater good is usually for the tiny minority in the elite protected class. Their ideas have never worked and will never work because a system built on stripping our humanity is in direct conflict with what it means to be human.
Capitalism teaches people to work more. Socialism teaches people to demand more. Which attitude do you think will make a better society?